Thank you for joining me. As always, I'm Foul Player, making this video on December 10th, 2018, regarding the Loma situation. I'll probably make another. I did a video live today. It was kind of shitty because I was doing it from the whip, and it kept like reconnecting and shutting off like So there were a lot of times that I was babbling for a minute, and I wasn't even peeping that the shit was off. And at the end, like it was like trying to reconnect for like 2 minutes. So I got pissed off and I just shut it down. But I wanted to go talk about part of the messages that I was saying on my live video. And I'm gonna try to do two videos today and talk about like the two topics that I had discussed in brief during my live video. As always, for those of you who join, who are joining me, thanks for thanks for checking me. Lord knows I don't deserve it. I definitely don't have the most boxing acumen. I don't know the history of the game like a lot of other cats do. I don't know like every fight that's happening. Like most times I don't give a shit. And it's not because like they're whack fight. Or I'm not gonna retreat and say that it's all because they're whack fights, bro. I don't got the time. Like a lot of times, I hate seeing little dudes fight most times too. And I say that to say that like just because it's boxing, that I'm watching it and I'm not gonna change the game up too just because I'm doing my little channel thing either. It's I don't know what comparison to make as to why I'm not gonna switch the game up and watch like every boxing fight from here on out, but it's not gonna happen. But I did want to talk about the Loma issue, or like Lomachenko's this past fight against the fuck is his name? He's Puerto Rican too. Pedraza. It was a decent fight, and I had actually heard Fanon International Boxing critique about what both of them were doing in the sense that they weren't like loading up on their punches, and I kind of like agree with that wholeheartedly because I've already peeped this from Lomachenko a few times, like where not that I peeped that and like I thought like, hey, this guy's not loading up, but when Fanon International Boxing said something, which make sure you subscribe to Fanon International Boxing. You got great content. But when he mentioned it, it kind of made it kind of crystallized like what I sort of thought like in the back of my mind. Where Lomachenko's style, it's he moves a lot. Like sometimes and like a lot of people have said that he moves sometimes with no like real purpose. And I agree wholeheartedly with that notion. A lot of times he's moving and it makes it seem like he's like this big defensive wizard, but he gets laced up and hit with a lot of shots where he doesn't need to. He has the ability to keep moving, no doubt, but with all that movement, it's not like evasive movement. And if he's not loading up on his shots, then his movement is not like to generate offense necessarily. If you want to subscribe to the notion that he's doing a lot of that movement to frustrate his opponents, I guess, but his level of opponents with as he moves up in weight, they're going to be able to tag him with a lot more substantial shots than somebody like a Linares or a Pedraza even, or Nicholas Walters. When you start going up against his not his likely opponent, because I don't even think it's gonna happen, to be frank. But if he ever fights like Mikey Garcia, somebody who could wait him out and who's good at countering and who punches hard too, like Mikey Garcia knocks motherfuckers out. Or if he fights Tank Davis, even another one. I mean, would I put my money on Tank Davis at this current juncture? Probably not. But that's a toss up. No. Tank Davis catches him with one of these shots. It could be good night for fucking Lomachenko. We've already seen him down on the floor. Salido gave him all kinds of hell when he fought him too. Salido made it into a rugged fight, and a lot of times, I mean, not to get off topic too much, but people make it seem like Salido won by some underhanded shit. And I think they use Salido's reputation as like a little bit of a dirty fighter to kind of sweep his victory over Lomachenko under the rug. He beat Lomachenko straight up. Like, that was like barely a dirty fight by Salido. I've seen Salido do some dirt. I love the way Salido fights too. I like sometimes like dudes that know how to fight dirty, or that could get away with being dirty. Maidana used to fight dirty like a lot too, and not like rough. Maidana would hit people in the balls like fucking when he would clench, and he wouldn't get caught. Like, he wouldn't get called out on it. Like, and that's it. That's in my eyes, that's an artistry. Or when they say like Ward fights dirty, Ward doesn't fight dirty. Ward knows how to get away with like stuff here and there. Like, when you know how to fight dirty, you don't need to employ that stuff all the time. You just keep it in the back of your opponent's mind, and then they'll be more frustrated. Just add to their level of frustration. But anyhow, the fight against Pedraza this weekend, it was I mean, like, I already seen Pedraza take an L. Like, so I mean, like, what, it's a lot of like the same top rank minutia, like with these fights that like nobody gives a shit about. You already know who's gonna be, what the outcome's gonna be in most of these cases. Like, it's always gonna be the house fighter that comes out on top. One thing that stuck out to me the most of the fight was the fucking reporting and the coverage. I fucking can't stand Teddy Atlas. Even Bradley, I used to like him as a fighter, and even then he was kind of annoying, like, because it's not like, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna root for my cats here domestically, but that doesn't mean like I flow with all of the way that all of these cats roll. Like, fucking Timothy Bradley got that corny ass mustache. It looks even worse in the suit. Fucking it just looks like some shit like my uncle would rock. Like, and his acting dumbfounded, like, when it came to like criticizing fucking Lomachenko, extremely annoying. And then I watch ESPN a lot too, and after the fact, you had Stephen A. Smith and the people at behind the desk, like that were reporting on the Lomachenko fight. They have this like sort of like an imagery, they want to portray a picture as if Lomachenko is like a consensus pound for pound number one number one cat, and I couldn't agree less. Like, fucking it's just another way of putting a non-American black fighter who deserves the number one pound for pound, which at this stage is either Bud or fucking Errol. That's beside the point. It's just their way of putting a non-American cat who is deserving of that distinguishment at the number one spot. I mean, like, now, that we lasted the age of Chocolatito, which lasted for fucking probably 9 months, which, if you think about it, Mayweather was endorsing him to be like the number one pound for pound number one back in the day. He didn't co-sign anybody else but Chocolatito because Mayweather's a bird. But now we're in the age of Lomachenko, and Lomachenko's not going to take on stiff competition. I think they're going to utilize the fact that he's on top rank as to why he's not able to make fights. And they're going to probably illustrate that point to make it seem like the people that aren't on top rank are fucking ducking him, or that it's easy to work with Bob Arum somehow, when that's never been the case. Like, if you watch boxing for more than 5 years. So Lomachenko's going to fight fucking turds like for the foreseeable future. I don't think they're ever gonna make a fight with Mikey Garcia. I don't think they're ever gonna make a fight with Tank Davis. Maybe so, more with Tank because of his shitty relationship with Mayweather and the money team. But as far as him with Garcia, I don't think that's gonna happen. Like, fucking when they first approached Arum regarding that fight, I mean, his first stance was that it would have to be done on ESPN. So, I mean, that's kind of like already like when they use those network cop-outs, like fucking Like it makes me feel pessimistic. Whether those fights will ever be, whether that fight in particular will ever be made, and it just sucks. I mean, like, because with Lomachenko and a lot of these other Eastern Bloc like fighters, like they would that have long amateur careers for no real reason. I mean, if they're nasty, they're nasty. Put them to fight at the pro level young, but when it comes to their amateur careers, like shit gets swept under the rug, and it's always utilized. Like when you talk about their tenure at their amateur careers, in their favor. You see that with Lomachenko. You've seen that with Usyk. Pretty soon you're gonna see that with the guy that beat fucking Adonis Stevenson. We all wish him a speedy recovery, but it's barely discussed or it's talked about like it's something that had to happen when it really doesn't. It's not like these people come from fucking like these countries with dictators or some shit. Like but then you have somebody like Luis Ortiz who also had a stellar amateur career, and that almost gets brought up negatively. And now when you factor that with his professional career and with a lot of people that are very apprehensive of making the fight with Luis Ortiz, it's almost twisted into an argument as to like Luis not looking for fights when that's not the case. I mean, again, if you watch boxing for fucking more than a year, like fucking Luis Ortiz been calling out everybody. He's ducking no action. Another thing too, and I want to make sure that I get back to the fucking ESPN coverage. But another thing too, I think a lot of credit is given to Lomachenko calling out people or like attempting to make big fights. And I'm not gonna dismiss the fact that he's made fights with Salido. Fucking Salido's a warrior with Walters, with Gary Russell Jr., with Linares, but those are small guys, bro. Like fuck, I'm Rigondeaux, which I thought he was gonna lose to Rigondeaux. But again, like I mean, like you got to make that leap up to the higher divisions at like 140 at the very least. And the competition, the way of fighting, it's significantly different from these 130 and 135 cats. I think with the 130 and 135 cats, and like I'll use Rigondeaux's fight as an example, in which he could use his weight, his skill. I mean, I'm not gonna just like say that he doesn't have skill. He could use his like pity pat, like light punching style, his constant movement. With Rigondeaux, he was tying him up a lot of times. Like, and he actually, like I mentioned this before in my live video, he actually warned the ref. Him and his dad, like who was Lomachenko's coach, warned the ref of Rigondeaux utilizing a particular hold or a particular clench, and then he fucked around and he was the one that was using it against Rigondeaux. And if you guys watch any Rigondeaux fights, he barely clenches. Like fucking Rigondeaux, like doesn't even bother with that shit. And he, Rigondeaux like is a small guy anyway. Like he doesn't waste his time with clenching when he has like such superior skill. But he was using those clenches against Rigondeaux. In addition to tagging him here and there, like fucking and moving around, like fucking So I think when you're a smaller guy, fighting a cat like Lomachenko, who maybe in Rigondeaux's case like bigger than you are. And then he has a lot of things that you may have not seen in another fight, and like fucking, I could see like I mean I don't excuse quitting in the fight game, but I could see where that would maybe disenfranchise like a fighter or like make him want to quit. Again, like no excuse. But what I love to see a lot of these fights like fucking happen like with some of the people I mentioned before, like with Garcia and Tank. Namely, sure. Do I think it's going to happen? No. And do I think that Lomachenko is going to lose his number one pound for pound spot? Like while he keeps fighting these lard ass fights? Nope. Like I think they're going to keep like Lomachenko like with that allure, as if people are not trying to make fights with him, as if he has this like superior set of skills that is just fucking highly functional, and it's what's causing him to make these victories for him come into fruition. Like Lomachenko stays getting tagged, bro. His face was like beat up looking. Like I mentioned before that he looked like Sean Newton after the fight. Fucking and Pedraza looked pretty good to go like after the fight. So I think they're gonna like keep running like fucking game on like us and make it seem like fucking Lomachenko's like the best boxer in the world, where we all know he's not. And that's one of these things that we shouldn't accept, man. And thankfully, like now we have these formats like YouTube, and we have these groups like the Lions Den boxing community, which could contend these notions. Because like boxing coverage in the past has been done on a monthly basis, like where you had magazines like the Ring magazine, which would come out monthly, and you had shitty ass shows like the Fight Game, which wouldn't even come out monthly most times, that would put notions out into the world, and people could have that in their mind with nothing to contend against it, and that would be the thought that people would subscribe to. But now you have like shows like Fanons and like Blue Bloods and like all these fine shows that are on YouTube, that they'll come out on the fucking daily, contending all these notions, trying to rectify all these bullshit fucking storylines that they put out for us to eat up. I mean, like, so now, I mean, like, if you want to run with that, you're just looking like you really don't know boxing. And it's a good thing. Like I mean, I never dismiss like the contribution that a lot of I'm not even gonna call them my peers, but a lot of these channels that I look up to, what they put out into the world as far as like boxing goes. And I mean, I don't mean to get on my soapbox on a lot of these issues over and over and over, but I think it's necessary, because boxing is twined with the race issue. I mean, it's no fucking secret as to why you had cats like Kovalev in the top 10, like fucking for years, even after taking losses. Why you had Triple G at the top, like at the top, in the top 5 and top 10 for so long. I'm pretty sure Triple G is probably in the top 10 still. Like why you had and why now you have Lomachenko as the number 1 pound for pound fighter in the whole world. So these things don't happen by accident. So make sure like you get out there and look for the truth, like with anything, like not just boxing, but I think we're coming into a new era of information, like and you're coming on upon individuals that are willing to put themselves out there, whether it be on live streams, whether it be on making content, which could like and when you put things out there like that, those things could, like, most times are up there forever. A lot of these cats don't take their videos down, so you could contend like the points they're trying to make, like, for all time. And I mean, like, that's sometimes it's a scary notion, but when you have truth as your guide, like that, it's less scary, I guess. Whatever the fuck, I don't know. I don't know how to paint it. But yeah, I'm gonna try to make another video. I think I got class like fucking in 15 minutes, like fucking and she's already getting tight at me. So once again, thank you for joining me. I hope you liked this video. Subscribe and enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of the week. Peace.